Oh my gosh. Stipe Miocic exacts revenge and stops DC Cormier, Daniel Cormier, in the 4th round via TKO. The talk of the night, very good fight. And, obviously I can't show you any clips for copyright reasons. Yeah, listen, I told you, I'm an ESPN affiliate, ESPN Plus. I told you to order UFC 241. This shit was fire. This was a really good card. The whole main card delivered. Main event delivered. Paulo Costa versus Yoel Romero delivered. And of course, Nate Diaz versus Anthony Pettis. Shout out to Nate Diaz, NorCal boys. Them NorCal boys don't play Stockton slap. That delivered. That was a very good, entertaining fight. I'm talking about, like, this was a good trio of fights. I was running around, so I didn't catch all of the card before. I seen some bits and pieces of some of the other fights, but the main card was definitely dope. So shout out to Costa for his step up. I did an interview, I did a post-fight review, and I just want to give some post-fight thoughts on this particular fight. Main event, wow. Stipe Miocic, he stops Daniel Cormier, and this was an impressive win. I'm gonna read some of the tweets that I was doing in real time. I didn't send too many tweets because I was just, I'm chilling, enjoying the fight. But in the first round, DC picked up and power slammed Stipe Miocic, a guy who's bigger than him, taller, has a good amount of weight. I forgot what he weighed. He came in a little bit lighter in the rematch. So I was like, man, DC's strong as fuck. But I thought Stipe was off to a very bad start. As you guys can see, I said Stipe was getting manhandled in round 1. Horrible start for Stipe. You just seen a relentless pressure from DC. He had some very strong kicks that he landed. And that's what you guys see here. I said DC had some hard-ass leg kicks in round 1. And, it seemed to bother Stipe Miocic. One of them particularly, it looked like Stipe's, body just jerked and buckled a bit, right? But round 2, it became a bit more competitive. And you guys see, this was my tweet. Damn, this is a battle of willpower and attrition. DC game plan seems a bit lazy. See? I'm calling it as I see, and you guys see. I said DC's game plan seems a bit lazy, like he's almost fighting a more reckless fight, trying to prove something, like there's a chip on his shoulder, but it's making it fun. And I said this in the second round, and DC gets stopped in this particular fight. A guy who's strong-willed, and durable, and he gets stopped. I think this was very important. I don't know what was going on in DC's mind, but I felt just like Anthony Pettis versus Nate Diaz. I felt the wrong game plan was in play. DC was literally walking towards the bigger, taller fighter as if he almost had no power. Stipe Miocic has a boxing background. He was either Golden Gloves or Silver Gloves champion in his youth, stuff like that. So he has some boxing experience. That's what he's known for, his strikes. And when he had his run before DC, put an end to that. He's known as a good boxer, good strikes, good stand-up game. So I really couldn't understand the lazy game plan from DC, because it seemed like he was just plowing forward, and he was using some upper body movement, and he moves well for his size. I give DC credit for that. He does move pretty well for his size, but Stipe was still connecting on some of the shots, and it was great action. So from a fan perspective, it was all that. But in terms of a strategic game plan, it didn't really make sense, right? And then I also put this, and this became the tail of the tape. I said Stipe landed 2 good hooks to the body, and I typed this immediately when I seen him. He was landing these vicious. This is in the 4th round. The 3rd round they were hard to judge. Round 2 and 3, they were both pretty competitive. DC was landing some vicious uppercuts, and Stipe was still sinking his shots. And I seen kind of the ebb and flow from round 1 start to dissipate and make it more competitive and even. Number 1 looked like it was going to the first round, it looked like it was going to be a repeat of what happened in the first fight, to be honest. Stipe almost seemed gun shy. Miocic seemed gun shy, like he respected DC's power. And, maybe this was DC's undoing, because it lured DC into kind of a lazy game plan, having a shootout with the taller fighter who can box, you know? And it was just like DC wasn't respectful of the skill set of Stipe. And I really feel like DC fought, one, as if Stipe had no power, or two, you see this sometimes when fighters get injured. When fighters get injured in a fight and they only have one arm, then they go for broke, and you know, they know, I got to get something because I'm injured, so I can't sustain a fight like this. I'm going to end up getting knocked out. So sometimes when fighters carrying nagging injuries, I've seen them kind of fight how I'm talking about DC fighting, where it's just kind of throw caution to the wind, i.e. in boxing. If you look at Tony Bellew versus David Haye, part 1, the first fight, David Haye collapsed his Achilles. He knew he couldn't stand on it. He knew he couldn't last, and Tony Bellew was going to sense blood. So David Haye started throwing these wild, crazy shots and stuff like that. And I just think Stipe started to make adjustments, and DC started to become a bit more reckless and one-dimensional in his approach. Like, why did he go away from the hard-ass leg kicks? You see what I put? I said DC has some hard-ass leg kicks. You know, why didn't he try to take down Stipe? So you really got lured into a shootout with a good boxer who's taller with power. And again, it was almost like DC was fighting like he wanted to prove the first fight wasn't a fluke, or maybe he was anticipating a fight with Brock Lesnar or John Jones or something. So he wanted to win in an emphatic fashion. And then by round 4, like I said, Stipe started landing something. He found a home for the left hook to the body, and the body shots, you could see they were breaking DC down. And I wonder why. I know DC's strong. I know he's a great wrestler, but I wonder why guys with longer arms and power don't commit to the body. Because if you look at DC, when John Jones was beefing with him, he was calling him Carl Winslow and stuff. He doesn't look like a guy who, you know, is in crazy, you know, just crazy Greek god body. You know what I'm saying? And the body is a more of a stationary target. You can have some head movement, but when you're a guy his size and width, I feel like the body is going to stay there for you. So Stipe made the perfect adjustment in round 4, and he started targeting the body. And it's like Cormier did nothing to defend it, to like try to reset, to, you know, switch up or do anything different. And Stipe kept hitting him in the body, just cracking him. And the thing is, they were both naturally tired from the first 3 rounds, which were basically tactical wars. And then on top of that, you're letting him dog your body. As you guys see right here, Stipe, I said this when it first happened, because that's immediately what I seen. I'm like, damn, he's landing some good hooks to the body. And before you know it, DC got caught with the shot upstairs. He got caught with the shot upstairs, a right, stumbled back into the cage, and then Stipe piled it on and started melting him. And DC's falling all crazy. The ref had no chance to stop it. So very unfortunate end result for Daniel Cormier, because the fight was in the bag or winnable. He would have probably been favored in a lot of those close rounds as the champion. And I think in rounds like 1 for sure, but definitely 2 and 3, even though Stipe was doing some good work, I think DC was landing some singles, and he was landing some with authority. He was landing the harder shots. But I respect Stipe Miocic, always have. I really respect this performance coming off of like a long layoff, 15-month layoff, a guy with power, a rusty first round. He really was patient, and he made, he made the proper adjustments. So that's a hell of a way to get your belt back. This was no easy task for either fighter. I think DC could have definitely won the fight, but to me, he started fighting really a stupid strategy and a stupid game plan, because he was just throwing caution to the wind against a good boxer and striker when he didn't really utilize his wrestling takedowns. He abandoned the hard kicks, the low kicks and stuff, and it just wasn't his night, and you could tell when he got knocked out against the cage, he was done. He was tired, he was done. He took some heavy shots. It was a rightful stoppage because he looked zoned out. He just looked like so gassed, and all the energy had been gone. And again, I respect Stipe's performance because he was dog ass tired too, but he's the one that made the better adjustments, and I think that woke his game up. Stipe made the adjustments with the hook to the body, and he was putting something into it, and DC wasn't coming up with a solution to resolve it, so he kept doing the same thing, same move over, bop, 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 and it started little by little, siphoning energy from him. And when you're already tired to begin with, plus you're getting dogged to the body, then you get lazy and you don't cover up top. You wince and stuff. You show signs. And I think that's what woke Stipe Miocic up. And these guys are killers. This is a heavyweight division, baby. You sense blood. These guys turn into sharks. It don't matter how tired you are. Even in boxing, look at the heavyweight division, Anthony Joshua versus Andy Ruiz. Ruiz got dropped before AJ. Joshua dropped Ruiz, but it's that fight or flight mentality. Ruiz got up, and I think he was still buzzed, still rocked, still, a bit hurt. He was definitely on alert, and Joshua got reckless, and then it was an opening created with that temple shot, and he's seen a reaction from Joshua that woke up Andy Ruiz's game. So he's like, oh shit, what was that? Bop, bop, yeah, bop, bop, and started lacing up combinations. Joshua goes down. Joshua gets up, his legs look unsteady. That's what changed the whole turn, like the tide of the fight. And I think that's what it was. This was a very competitive fight. This is a good fight, and it's a fight Stipe was pretty much losing. I'm not saying he was losing like where it wasn't competitive, but he was. I think most people would have favored the champion throughout more of the rounds, for a 5-round fight. But he made that adjustment and fought smart. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That body shot was working, breaking him down. And then you see what I put. I said, wow, Stipe stopped DC. Very impressive. Great heavyweight comeback story. And, this is why you like the fight game. And then this was a question I posed immediately after. I said, John Jones versus Stipe. So both guys are going to need rest after that. It was a war, UFC 241. And see, I just reaffirmed that. I said DC started fighting a reckless fight, like I said. It didn't make sense. You got to utilize it, especially in the heavyweight division. One punch can change everything. You got to utilize your skill set. The headshots, DC's pretty durable. He was taking them. And it was the body shots that made him more susceptible to certain headshots, because you're getting hit to the body and you're already tired. Your mobility changes. Like, you might be able to dodge and like roll with some of the shots when you're a little bit fresher, but then if he's siphoning the energy from your body, it's putting a hole in your gas tank, and now you're taking the flush full shot from a power puncher in Stipe, and you take the whole shot. That's something different versus the other ones. You can see him coming and you can roll with it. This is just classic. He broke his man down. Classic. Like, this is, I like this type of fight for the UFC, because some of the other fights, like where there's so much wrestling and jiu-jitsu, sometimes that misses me because I'm more of a boxing fan. But this was right up my alley. DC, he made it fun, but he also didn't fight to his best advantages, and, he relied on his chin, and he was literally walking with his hands down. It was a weird game. It was almost like he was checked out, because he was fighting with his hands down and walking up like this was like Stipe was just done, and maybe he bought the hype. Stipe got knocked out in the first fight, 15-month layoff. Maybe he thought it was going to be some easy work, but Miocic had different plans. But I did notice this post-fight with Joe Rogan. I said, damn, Stipe's speech and slur sounds crazy in the post-fight interview. This was definitely a war, and I've heard him talk in the past. I don't really remember him sounding like that, but he might have had a light concussion or something, because he sounded pretty fucked up, to be honest. In the post fight, he's like, Anaheim, man, who are you? He sounded like Ozzy Osbourne and shit. I'm not even trying to disrespect. Sharon, bloody dog, Sharon. His voice, he had like a drawl to what he was saying, but hell of a performance. This was a good card, bro. Look at what people are saying. Eddie Alvarez, the best heavyweight fights I've ever seen. DC and Stipe, you were both heroes. Michael, he said, fuck, UFC 245 in Vegas, headlined by a trilogy. Yeah, they asked him if he was going to retire post-fight. I don't know. Look at Chris Weidman. Wow. Everyone, Weidman. Man, this shit was classic. But look at that size difference. With that size difference, DC should have fought a different fight. Similar to Anthony Pettis. I said that you got to check out that post-fight video too. But in that particular post-fight, I told you guys, in my opinion, Anthony Pettis is new to the division. We all know the Diaz brothers in the game, and you know what they're good at. You know what their strengths are and weaknesses. Why was Anthony Pettis allowing Diaz to have him backed up against the cage and smother his work, sending short shots and throwing 300 punches. You get what I'm saying? It made no sense. You're going to wear down before him. Damn, John Jones says Stipe is hands down the greatest heavyweight of all time. I have nothing else to say. Yeah, bro. Stipe is a beast. He got a resume. Yeah, I mean, this is why we watch fighting sports, bro. Because this was a hell of a comeback. You know, shout out to Cleveland. Let me know what you guys think. Very good card. Hope you guys watched it. DC, I don't know if he's going to retire, but hell of a career if he decides to retire. I think the fight was winnable, but it's all about the adjustments, baby. If you're new, consider subscribing. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. Make sure you smash the like button for the latest and greatest. Subscribe, share. You know, you can send super chats and PayPal, all that good stuff. Make sure you smash the like button as always. Hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video is ego, son. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button. And you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.